Yes,
All right,
you know what time it is. Sorry about that. My computer's gone absolutely crazy. But you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan. And today we bring you some good news. Tottenham has agreed a deal with Bright for Bissouma. But look, we'll find out what Jack's and Matty Hayes, how they're keeping. And then we will get into all of the transfer news. Jack, how are you keeping, my man?
Keeping pretty well, Dave. Keeping pretty well, I must say. Like, to wake up to this sort of news, and honestly, Fabrizio Romano, I feel like has been quite, kind of quiet when it comes to kind of Spurs news. It feels like we're just kind of listening to Matty Hayes, and we've gotten very few kind of here we go. So we've gotten very few, sort of rumors. It feels like from Fabrizio, and finally we've been treated with a big one up Bissouma. And to be fair, for most people who watch just Premier League football, this is probably everybody's top of the line sort of midfielder that they would go for. I think a lot of people end up kind of focusing mostly on the Premier League, and this is like a proven Premier League midfielder, certainly someone that will just walk straight into this team and improve us instantly. So I think everybody's going to be happy about it, Dave, and we'll definitely have some good things to break down about it for sure.
No, we definitely will, Jack. I already see people looking for your stats video already, so I do.
There we go.
But Matty, how are you keeping, man?
I'm good. Like I said before, Parachi is cooking with a combination of spices and herbs and stuff that we didn't really think was possible. But yeah, we're building something special at Tottenham, and it's hard not to watch it all unfold with a massive smile on my face. But I'm sure we'll get into much more detail on all that as the stream goes on.
No, 100%. We will be talking about Bissouma, Djed, Spence, Eriksen, any outgoings as well. Things are definitely hotting up. Market is only open, 4 days? 3 signings in the door. I mean, life could not get better. Our midfield is definitely looking saucy. Let's just welcome a few people into the stream, and then we'll get going. We have Vendetta FM. Big up, my man. I hope you're keeping well, brother. Jack, you take over for a sec, lad. I'm just going to sort this out. I don't know what's going on over here with
I'll
me.
take it over. Benedict Tampa saying, what a signing. Big up, Benedict. Good to see you as well. Always in the house. Kieran Spiteri, love that name, saying, what a signing. We're getting even better next season with the likes of Perisic, Bissouma, Torres to come next, Matty. That's what he's predicting. Interesting prediction there. Not so sure, but I like your style, Kieran. Sue Smith saying, made up with this signing. Very good player. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Sue. Absolute legend. Good to see you in the house. Gary O'Neill saying, not Bissouma, it's Bissouma. Come on, you Spurs. He's absolutely going to be boss in this midfield. Gary, for sure. Pete from the lane saying, what a signing. Big up, Pete. Dave Tyson saying, afternoon, people. Good to see you, Dave. Sushant Busal saying, elite signing. Cannot wait, Jack. What he says on flatcapeurotalk. Big up, Dave and Jack. Big up, boys. Sushant, always good to see you, my man. Really do appreciate support. Wayne Bonner said, when did the aliens abduct Daniel Levy and replace him with this exact opposite version? It feels like we're breaking all of the Spurs, sort of kind of patterns, Matty, if you ask me. Every single sort of kind of bad habit Spurs have in the transfer market feels like we're just breaking all of them at this moment. I think you're on mute, Matty.
Sorry, I don't think we ever expected to see this moment where Tottenham would be making good moves and making early moves under Daniel Levy, but
right,
Fabio Paratici he's just something a little bit different to what we're used to, and it's just beautiful, Jack. I just want to cry. It's just
he's breaking our bad
honestly.
habits, Paratici. He's breaking all the bad Spursy habits. That's what he is, Wayne. Big up, Wayne. Good to see you. Mappy MC saying, good evening, all. Good to see you, Mappy. And I like the logo as well, or I like the profile pic. Tottenham Gold saying, ladies and gentlemen, maybe Dave does this one, actually. See if the mic is working now.
Ladies and gentlemen, live from Kildare, Ireland and Brooklyn, New York, introducing the best duo since Huddle and Waddle. So subscribe and get your membership. Come on, you lily whites. How's my mic now, Jacko?
Bit better, Dave. A bit better. Big up.
Yeah. Okay. Emma Burns says, this is unreal. This man runs riot. This man is at least a 60 million, and getting him for 25 million is something else. Absolutely love that, Eamon. Absolutely love it. Old Soul says, going for league title. Come on, you Spurs. Bissouma has played left wing back in the past. Interesting there. Terry Wright says, big up, everyone. What a signing for only 25 million. Wow. Brilliant piece of business. Come on, you Spurs. I love that. Derek Hutchins says, our whole squad is starting to look saucy. That it is, my man. Strength and depth. That's what I'm going to say. Martin Walton says, afternoon, lads. Absolutely chuffed with the Bissouma signing. For my money, is the best defensive mid in the league, but also has the potential to be one of the best box-to-box midfielders too. Very interesting. Big up Kieran Spiteri says, hi Irish, quick question. When do you think Torres will be done? Well, look, we'll get that to ask Matty in a little while, my man. We'll ask Matty that. Mark says, what a day to be a Spurs fan. Big up, Mark. It is a great day. Christoph Martin says, with the way things are going, I think the left centre-back will be going for will be someone who we haven't been linked with. Anyone happy with the signing of Bissouma? Our midfield is deadly. It's absolutely saucy, my man. Jeffrey Miller says, Bissouma, big up, Jeffrey. Hope you're keeping well. Big up, Wayno. Good to see you in the house. Paddy Harnett says, Jesus, I have seen more of Matt Hayes today than I have of my own missus. Love that, Paddy.
Living life right, Paddy.
Adrian Soccer says, Sraka says, Bissouma signing is an excellent news. Leaves us with sufficient transfer funds without player sales to get at least 2 marquee signings. Damiano says, big up, guys. Great signing. Wayne Lloyd says, hi, guys. Great to see you all. Love the way we are getting signings early. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, James Joris. Hope you're keeping well. The hot Spurs well. Big up, everybody. We're fixing to be a real force next season. Can't wait. And we've barely spent any money yet. Come on, you Spurs. That's a big point as well. And the Bertie Hotspur, big yourself up. And then we'll take this from Adrian Schraka. And then we will get into it. Adrian says, big up, lads. Bissouma bossed us in the FA Cup, though we won. And yes, 100% he did. He absolutely ran riot against us in that FA Cup, even though we did win. Look, we'll get into it. We'll get everybody's thoughts on the panel on this signing as well. But guys, before we do, everybody make sure you do smash that like button. There's already 120 in-house. Smash that subscribe button as well if you are brand new to the channel. For a lot more of these transfer streams, hopefully every signing we make throughout the summer. And guys, feel free to get your super chats in with any questions you have for the panel, with your thoughts, whether you disagree, agree, are you happy with the business we're doing so far? Do let us know, guys. Do let us know. But Jack, we'll hand it over to you, my man. Let's get going.
Let's hand it over to me and, get the people going, Dave. Ask what they want. With Bissouma, we are going to be talking about our third signing, everybody, with Tottenham Hotspur. And it has been leaked, everybody, in fact, by Gary Jacobs first over at the Times, and then retweeted, or at least remade, by Fabrizio Romano. So again, everybody, Gary Jacob from the Times did break the news first, and then Fabrizio Romano. Here is his quote. Here is saying Tottenham are set to complete their third signing agreement in place for Yves Bissouma, joining from Brighton, as first reported by Gary Jacob. Final details on the add-ons is a 26 million euro fee. Spurs are offering Bissouma a 5-year deal. A new midfielder is coming for Conte. Bissouma is the third signing so far this winter after Forster and Perisic. The fee is agreed for be around 25 million euros. His medical will be on Thursday, everybody. The contract expired with Brighton in 2023, which sort of kind of explains, I think, the cheaper sort of fee. I know everybody kind of thought that this guy would go for a whole lot more, but I think we had to remember that he is, technically not actually a homegrown player from, the English system. He actually was out in Lille for a time being, so he doesn't qualify as a homegrown player, and his contract was up in 2023, which sort of kind of explains maybe the bit of the lower fee. I think Maddie can give us some insight on that too. Arsenal and Aston Villa and Everton, and pretty much I would say every top Premier League club were interested in the player. Aston Villa, in fact, did even have a bid rejected in January for the guy. And then Tottenham have been scouting and monitoring Bissouma since his days at Lille when they were looking for Moussa Dembele replacements in 2018. Probably should have picked him up sooner. Kind of classic maybe in those days when we seemed to be monitoring all the right players, just didn't really ever pull the trigger. Bissouma made 124 appearances for Brighton over 4 seasons. He originally moved there from Lille for around 15 million pounds. And then Antonio Conte has been impressed by Bissouma's performances against Brighton this last season. Kind of, Maddie, when Bissouma comes into this team, who misses out? Is it Bentancur or is it Højbjerg? Or, do any of them miss out? Who do you think, he competes with?
If it's anyone, it's Højbjerg.
Yeah.
Bentancur offers a lot more on the ball than either of those two do. So if Bissouma is coming in to play with Højbjerg, I think we're going to lack a lot of ball playing ability in that midfield, and the thing that we got from the signing of Bentancur. So I think it is going to be a Bentancur and Bissouma, or Bentancur and Højbjerg midfield. And I don't necessarily think it's a case where we have to pick one or the other, because there's going to be a lot of rotation. There's going to be games that Bissouma is better fitted to. There's going to be games that Højbjerg is better fitted to. And look, there's two ways that we have to look at the signing, and people are getting annoyed that I'm mentioning this, but you need to look at the footballing side of things, and you need to look at what's happening off the pitch and what has happened off the pitch with Yves Bissouma over the last couple of months. So on the pitch, from a footballing front, it's a very, very brilliant signing. You know, Bissouma is one of the best holding midfielders, one of the best defensive midfielders in the Premier League. Last season, he completed, I think it was 3.2 tackles per 90, which is more than any other player in the Premier League of those who played 25 games or more. He's ranking really high in terms of tackles won, dribblers tackled, all the defensive stats. He's ranking really high, and you know, that's what we need in there. That's what we need. It's what Højbjerg does give us already, but I think Bissouma does it with a little bit of something extra, with a little more maybe athleticism, maybe a greater ability to carry the ball forward. And he's not the best passer of the ball. He's not going to be the one who'll get 5 or 10 assists this season, but he does offer something that Højbjerg doesn't. I also think Højbjerg offers things that Bissouma doesn't. But we needed a balanced midfielder, and I've been saying how I'm kind of skeptical of a potential signing of Christian Eriksen. I mean, look, I'd still love to see it happen, because who wouldn't love to see Eriksen back in the Tottenham jersey? But I think from a footballing perspective that it's not really the best signing we can make, because we need a balanced midfielder who can do both sides of the game, and Bissouma can.
Is he more of a Rolls Royce, you would say, kind of Bissouma? I know that's such a cliche term, but is he more of a Rolls Royce?
I'm not sure I go that far just yet. He's not on Cudi Romero's level. You know, Cudi for me is the epitome of a Rolls Royce player. But yeah, look, he's really, really good. £25 million is an absolute steal. And like you said, he only has a year left in the contract. He's informed Brighton that he's not going to sign a new contract. They need to make a bit of money. And I think for them to get £25 million when he only has a year left on his contract, I think is good business for them as well. And it should be more than enough money for them to bring in a replacement for him there. The only cloud over this deal is, of course, the allegations that have been made against Bissouma in recent months. And I don't know if you wanted it mentioned on your channel, David, but just to quickly say that I think look, he hasn't been charged. He hasn't been found guilty of anything, and I think we do have to take that at face value. You know, innocent until you're proven guilty, and absolutely you can't.
Could even explain, you know, maybe since it's kind of the elephant in the room, I might be honest. Like, we do kind of I have a whole timeline here, everybody. Really just what I could gather. This is sort of kind of the timeline with the charges surrounding Bissouma. On October 20th, 2021, Bissouma was arrested with another man, 40 years old, for accusations of sexual assault that allegedly took place on the evening of October 6th. He was dragged out of the local Sussex club in the late evening / early morning hours in handcuffs. He was released on bail the next day, November 3rd. His bail was extended for another 5 weeks for further investigation that lasted until December 6th, 2021. On December 8th, 2021, Bissouma is released on bond for 4 weeks. There is a difference between bond and bail. I don't think I need to explain, though. January 2022, Sussex police stated that Bissouma had been freed under investigation. And then on April 6, 2022, Sussex police announced that the other accused man's bail, so that 40-year-old man who he was with at the time, his bail had been extended till late June, while Bissouma had been basically released from bail and bond conditions. So the other man that he was with at the time, I think, is still, you know, under heavy investigation and is still under bail and bond conditions, whereas Bissouma has been sort of released from bail and bond conditions. So he is technically still under investigation, but there are no existing charges against him currently. The case could be reopened, though, if any additional evidence is found against him. Bissouma is also technically banned, I think, still from driving in the UK, as well for repeated speeding offenses in 2019 and 2021. So my quick thoughts, though, say that again, Dave.
This guy's a walking charge sheet.
I think he might be still allowed to drive. I don't know, because it said banned, but I was like, the fact that he received a banning in 2021, I mean, that's only a year ago, so it kind of makes me think that he should still be banned. At the end of the day, I feel like he is innocent until proven guilty, but these are very, very serious crimes, I think, to be accused of, and so we must be always cognizant of that, and we must be cognizant of the fact that this investigation is still ongoing, and he technically can still be brought back into it at any time. So I feel like that, also needs to be kind of stated as well. But that's the whole timeline on the whole situation there.
I think it is kind of concerning that the line is there. If more evidence comes to light, he'll be brought back into the case, or he could be charged. Look, I just want to preface this by saying I'm not a legal expert. I'm not an expert on this case. I studied law in college for 2 years, but there's a reason that stopped after 2 years. It's because I wasn't very good at it. There is a moral grey area around this. Like I said, of course, you can't prevent the man from having a career or hold against him allegations that haven't been proven. I don't think that's fair, but I also don't think it makes sense or morally that it's okay to sign a player who has this cloud hanging over his head. Now, having said that, I think even if you want to ignore the moral side of things, from a business point of view, if Tottenham weren't entirely sure that he wasn't, or that they weren't entirely sure that tomorrow they couldn't turn around and charge him and arrest him and send him to jail or whatever, there's no reason why £25 million would have been spent on him. So if you want to ignore the morals business perspective, I think it's Tottenham must know that
they did their due diligence, they did the research. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's a charge that is very, very difficult to prove guilt. And look, like Mike says, innocent until proven guilty. That's almost entirely my point. That's exactly what I think does need to be held into account. But I don't think the allegations can be dismissed and thrown to the wayside as easily as people are trying to do it.
I completely agree, Maddie. I couldn't even put that better myself. I think Zoe in a group chat today put in similar words where even if, like she doesn't believe that he's guilty, but it's just being accused and being arrested. Like at the end of the day, he was arrested for the accusations of those very serious crimes. And the 40-year-old friend of his, I believe, is, I think, under serious investigation and might actually be the one that perhaps could be, I could be making a guess here and could be, going a bit beyond my, guesses here, but he seems to be the one that might be in serious trouble, is the 40-year-old person that he was with at the time. So at the end of the day, Bissouma might know the person that is guilty of the crime, and a very serious crime, and one that we don't really want any player or any person really to be associated with at all near this football club. So I think well said, Maddie. Well said there. But yeah, Dave, your quick thoughts. But yeah, that's the whole timeline on it. And to be fair, he sort of has, been progressively released over time, and now he's basically released from all bail and bond, sort of obligations and things like that, which basically means he's been sort of like progressively released. As maybe
no. Look, what I will say is obviously it's innocent, to make sure I get the phrase right, innocent until proven guilty. And I do think it is important that you do talk about the circumstances surrounding the player, because we are signing him at this club. But what I will say is I would say that the club have gone in and done their due diligence. I'd say they've probably found out that maybe it isn't him. It's probably his friend. He's probably guilty by association by being out with this guy that night. And I would say they wouldn't have signed him unless he would probably be cleared. That is my general opinion on it. We're talking about 25 million euros here. We're not talking about 25 pounds. You know what I mean? We're talking about 25 million euros. And for any club to lay that out, they would have to have gone in and done their research on this case, going to sign this player. Like, I was listening to a podcast the other day by a guy called Bradley Orr, and he ex player in the English Pyramid, and he was saying, he went in to break up a fight, and the reason why Bristol City and all didn't get rid of him, even though it was put out that he started the fight when he didn't. When the evidence came to light, it turns out that he was actually trying to break up the fight, etc., etc., etc. And it's kind of like it does get construed one way in the media, but the evidence told a different thing, and that's basically what he was saying. And it could be very the same here with Bissouma. Look, I'm not going to sit here and defend the guy because I genuinely don't know the ins and outs of the case. I don't think anybody does. But what I will say is I don't think Tottenham would have laid out that sort of money if he was guilty. I'd say they definitely would have done their research into it. I'd say there's probably evidence there to prove him innocent. I would say, because and look, if that is the case, guys, you've got to give Tottenham credit, because no other club would touch this guy with a barge pole at the minute. But if it is a case that he is about to be proven guilty, which I'd say would be the case considering Tottenham have laid out that money, the fact that
proven innocent.
Yeah.
Proven innocent.
Proven innocent. But the fact that we've done that much due diligence and that maybe we've got ahead of the curve, Because we have to remember, Aston Villa put in a bid for this guy back in January, so he can't be that guilty, in my opinion.
I just feel like you made a good point there, Dave, where these are very, Daniel Levy, these are all very rich, very, smart men at the end of the day that will do their due diligence. They will do their research when investing this much money into something. I almost might sound like Sean here, but it's almost when, anybody that invests in stocks or makes, huge investments into something, they do almost all the research. They look in every single corner, every single crevice to see if there's anything that might, kind of dissuade them from making that investment, something that might, put them off track, something that might, put them, at ease or whatever it may be. So if they felt like there was nothing that, put this deal at stake or nothing that, maybe complicated this, that they thought would maybe ruin also the PR, because at the end of the day, as much as we do kind of pretend that maybe Spurs don't care about their PR, they very much do care about their PR, and they very much do care about how they look to the world and how they look to us Spurs fans. So if they felt like Bissouma is, innocent and they've done their research, then I guess we have to believe them, look, which is kind of a scary thing to do. It's kind of a scary thing to say, because you're then kind of trusting that the club have also done their due diligence and have also done their research.
100%. But look, let's move on from the Chargers and let's actually talk about the player that we've signed.
Absolutely. And I have a few questions lined up in that regard. And we were just talking about, the fact that could he replace, maybe Bentancur or Højbjerg? Does he, play ahead of one of them? David, maybe my question for you is, he's played a much deeper role in the past for Brighton, almost kind of that, kind of ball winner / kind of deep lying playmaker. Do you see him playing a deeper role for Spurs, like maybe a higher up role where he plays higher than Bentancur and Højbjerg? Kind of where would you see him basically playing? Is he going to play a different role than he did for Brentford, maybe is what I'm asking?
Look, I think he'll just fit into the midfield too. I think that is Conte's preferred system, but we also have to remember he now has the option to go to a 3 in midfield, just like he did at Inter Milan, Jack, because you've got now Bentancur, Højbjerg, Bissouma, and Skip. Toss Harry Winks off. He's on the way out, but he has the chance now to switch to his preferred formation that he did use at Inter. But with Bissouma, Jack, I think he'll just slot. If we are going with the two, he'll just slot in. I reckon Højbjerg is probably more at danger than Bentancur, purely because of Bentancur's passing ability. But he'll just slot in seamlessly and pick up from what Højbjerg does, in my opinion. Look, this is a midfielder, Jack, that when we played them in the FA Cup, I think we bet them 3-1, wasn't it? I think we bet them. He actually scored him. I think if
you're right, and actually Adrian Chias, and that connects to the fact that that's maybe why Antonio Conte wanted him, Dave, because there were a few different occasions where Bissouma just absolutely bossed the midfield, and even when Brighton were looking pretty shocking, he still looked like an unbelievable player in that team. And so I think Adrian Chia is actually bringing up that point here, where that's probably what convinced Conte, to get the guy, is because he bossed that midfield when that midfield was looking pretty garbage, actually.
Yeah, he absolutely ran riot around our midfield, especially, he just absolutely ran riot against our midfield. But look, with Bissouma, Jack, you're getting a player that he gets absolutely stuck in, Jack. He's all action, all energy, picked up 10 yellow cards last season, so he loves getting stuck in, loves the tackle. But Jack, he can also go forward with the ball. We've seen that. He can also strike a ball from distance, which we've also seen against ourselves. For me, I think we're getting an all-action midfielder, which I think is absolutely perfect for the Conte signing. I think he'll end up being more box-to-box, in my opinion. Someone like Højbjerg, you've seen towards the end of the season, was allowed to get forward, was allowed to start supporting the attack. I reckon that's what Bissouma will do. I also think he can probably help us press from the front if he can get up beside Kane, Son, and Kulu, up in behind them and help press. That gives us a different dimension there.
Yeah.
But Jack, this is a player that he made his debut under Marcelo Bielsa at Leeds or at Lille in 2016. Got his move to Brighton in 2018, and now we'll be playing Champions League football in 2020. In 2022, this guy has had a substantial rise to his career as well. So long may it continue.
I would say actually a quite steady rise, if you ask me. Not too many huge steps, in his career, if you ask me. I think
just goes to show his quality that he hasn't had to take that many steps to get to somewhere like Tottenham in the Champions League.
You're probably right about that. Last question before we get to the super chats, on Bissouma here, Maddie. What does Bissouma excel at, you feel like, Maddie? Like, what is he improve, this midfield? Like, how does he elevate this midfield? What does he bring that maybe we don't have?
He's a ball winner. He goes on the pitch, he wins the ball. That's what he's all about. And I wouldn't say I wouldn't say we're specifically lacking that in midfield, but you can never have too much of a ball winner in midfield, if that makes sense. He just loves to get stuck in. He loves to be that that kind of fighter, that warrior in midfield. Maybe what we expected Højbjerg to be, or what Højbjerg was for us last season, but even more maybe. Like was mentioned there in the chat. So mentioned there, I think the comment's gone, but he had the most tackles per 90 in the Premier League last season. I think I mentioned that with 3.2 per 90. His interception numbers are fantastic. His ball recovery numbers are fantastic, and I think that's what we need. But he also has the athleticism more than the passing ability to turn defense into attack. And I think maybe that's what Højbjerg lacks, or has lacked this season at least. I think he showed his ball playing abilities a lot more with Denmark during the Euros, where he got himself a couple of assists, I think, in the group stage. But Bissouma is just really, really good at that, and he wins the ball back. He's able to carry forward. He's able to bomb forward. And his progressive carry numbers for Brighton isn't the best out there. It's I'd argue just above average, but that's playing in a team that doesn't have the players around him that Tottenham would have. So if you're playing Brighton, are you really going to be that worried about Neil Maupay running off your shoulder? If it's Son or Kane or Kulusevski, you're going to be absolutely terrified, and that could give Bissouma more room to work in. And it's just, I think it's a signing that plugs two gaps in our team, just like Bentancur did, in that he's good when we don't have the ball, and he's good when we do have the ball as well. I'm excited to see what he can add to this team.
But what I will say just quickly, what I will add as well is it brings in competition, which hopefully will elevate Højbjerg's game to a new level, Bentancur's game to a new level. When Skip gets back from injury, hopefully he'll be at it, all guns blazing. It raises the standards all around that midfield. So hopefully from minute one in the Premier League right through to the last minute, you will see these players at it in the midfield. None of these mediocre displays, knowing that they're going to start the following game purely because they have Harry Winks coming up behind them and Ollie Skip is out injured. No more of these substandard performances. At times this season, we've had to play Bentancur 50% fit because we didn't want to use Winks. Now we don't have to do that. We can play Bissouma. And like Matty says, this guy can carry a ball into a final third. Not only can he win it, but he can carry the ball. And a lot of people out there, have been looking for that Moussa Dembele replacement. A lot of people are suggesting that maybe this could be that replacement. If he gets anywhere near to Moussa Dembele's levels, we have a player in the hand. Look, I think it's a very good signing. I think I'm excited by the signing. I didn't really want to entertain this before when people asked me on it because I knew about the court case surrounding him and stuff. Or not the court case, sorry. Yeah. The investigation surrounding him and stuff like that. But look, since he signed, I'll have my opinion on it. I think it's a very, very good signing for Tottenham. Win-win. It means Conte can go 3 in midfield if he wants. He has now options in midfield. If a game like the low block teams desires someone that has the ability to beat a player and carry a ball, Bissouma is your man. But this is a guy that also, my biggest thing I love about is Arsenal were looking for this guy. Arsenal were looking for this guy. And now they can't have him. We've took him off Arsenal.
Every
Liverpool
team was.
Also very, very heavily linked last January, along with us. Aston Villa as well. This guy's been heavily, heavily sought after. And he is at Tottenham Hotspur. We use the fact that he has 1 year left on his contract to get it at a nice, cheap price as well, which means we can use that more money in other positions. So it's a win-win for Tottenham, this signing all around.
And Spurs 72 celebrating 9 months as a Flat Cap member, saying, exactly, David, diligence has been done. We did our due diligence, and we finally brought in a player that, to be honest, I don't think anybody can complain about this signing. Like, this is one of those signings that everybody knows who he is. Like, even people who've been living under a rock, I feel like, know who this guy is. And it feels like just sort of the player that everybody's going to be happy with, especially maybe considering maybe more light that's being brought to the case surrounding him and everything. Maybe more people be starting to become more comfortable with it. And then, honestly, I think it's a signing on the football side of things, a signing nobody has any problems with, which is good signs. Tottenham Gold saying, big up, lads. What a day, as the song goes. Things can only get better. As for me, Eriksen we can't keep looking back. Is a no way. We can't keep looking back. Keep up the great work, brothers. Love that Tottenham gold. Love that, Dermot. Everybody check out Tottenham gold. No longer the tantrum in there. Just nice and simple. Tottenham gold. It's like going from the Facebook just to Facebook. Dermot, Dave, he doesn't want Eriksen, which I think is kind of interesting because Eriksen, maybe signing him now with the context of the Bissouma signing sort of makes sense, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, look, we'll definitely get the latest off yourself and Matt Hayes when it comes to the Eriksen situation, Jack. But look, for me, I know Sean Butler's not going to be happy with this, but technically he's on a free transfer. I know wages, etc., 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 but technically he's on a free transfer. And for me, get him in, add an extra option to that that midfield. I think, look, get them in. I'm greedy. I'm hungry. I'm sick of watching Harry Winks be the backup and managers not want to use him. I'm sick of us having a very small squad to deal with. If Eriksen wants to come, which I believe he has rejected Brentford's contract offer, get this guy in. And look, I'll have my say as we get onto Eriksen, but I've changed my mind. I have changed my mind on this guy. I didn't want him anywhere near this team. But Dermot, I want options, man. I want to be greedy. You look at City, you look at Liverpool, Chelsea, look at the squad they have, look at the options they have. That's where we need to get to, my man.
Big up, Dermot. Really appreciate support, brother. Adrian Chia saying, kudos, lads, for talking about the elephant in the room. Yeah, I mean, Adrian, I think it just needs to be addressed. And we probably, before we even started talking about the football side of things, it probably was just address the elephant in the room. It seems kind of silly not to. And so I appreciate that, Adrian. I do appreciate that. We tried our best there to break it down as best we could, and the best manner that we could as well. Dark Sun G saying, now hopefully we get Richarlison, Spence, and Kim Min-jae. Kim Min-jae for that backup for Eric Dyer. Spence as that new right wing back. Richarlison, I feel like it just needs I love Richarlison, Dark Sun G, but that fee is just extortionate, if you ask me. Maddie, I mean, what are your quick thoughts on the Richarlison? I feel like it's if you ask me, the right sort of target for maybe that, extra attacking forward or that extra forward. But But at the same time, I feel like it's an extortionate fee. It's an extortionate fee.
I was kind of split when it was £51 million, but it's anything up to £65 million. It's just too much money. I think there's a better quality player we can get out there, a more reliable, more consistent player. In theory, it's good to see the potential swap deal with Harry Winks and Lucas Moura, but realistically, that's a very, very difficult deal to get done because you have 3 players that need to agree to personal terms. You have 2 clubs that need to agree on the valuation of 3 different players. That is a very complicated one, and even if it were to happen, I think would take a very long time. And Adam Crafton of The Athletic has just reported in the last couple of minutes that Tottenham hold a genuine interest in Rafinha from Leeds. So look, maybe there are plenty of options there.
Switch gears.
I'm going to be controversial just there quickly. I'm just going to be controversial on that. Richarlison offers us cover for Harry Kane and Son. Rafinha only offers us cover, from my opinion, in Kulusevski. I think Richarlison would make sense.
That's a fair point.
I do
like Rafinha, don't get me wrong. I mean, if we get him in and a striker, bring him in. But Richarlison gives us more cover.
I actually agree with that entirely. In fact, you already kind of have Lucas Moura as sort of the backup for that right wing. Like Lucas, we all know, does best in the right wing anyways. And if you're getting in another right winger, it just, I don't know. Like, I really don't know. And I agree with you there, Dave. I think that's the spot on. Darkson G also saying Eriksen and at least an A- center back and a B+ midfielder, because we do need 5 subs for next season. I mean, probably, Dave, you do bring in Rafinha as well, because we keep forgetting that you have 5 subs available to us. The bench has to be absolutely stacked. But what do you feel like, an A- center back and a B+ midfielder? It seems like we've gone for an A- midfielder, and maybe we might settle for a B+ center back. It's almost looking like the trend is we're going to get it flipped.
Defense has been our biggest issue. You can sign all the attacking players and midfielders you want. Defense has been our major issue, and until we can improve that, which is what Conte wanted to improve first this window anyway. It's just the fact that Bissouma and that has been up to come about. We have been linked with centre backs and we have tried to get them in, but defense is where you need the A+ centre backs. We've already got B+, whatever it is there with Dyer and Davies. And look, don't get me wrong, great campaigns, but can we improve on them? Yes, we can.
Love that. And then Dark Sun G lastly saying, skip Bissouma, Pierre Mahoy, Bjergen Bentoncourt, or beat mid-table teams. Honestly, I was saying this to you in the back end, Maddie. This is one of the hardest hitting midfields I've honestly ever seen. In fact, probably most teams look at that midfield and probably be looking at their bones and just kind of thinking, they probably just wish them goodbye, because it's just going to be a tough midfield to come up against. There's not one, soft, or kind of nice midfielder in there. They're all mean, kind of hard looking midfielders, that team.
Yeah, and they all offer something different to each other as well. So if you're coming up against Tottenham, even if you knew we're playing a 3-4-3, there's what 12 different. No, is it 12 different midfield variations we could go with there? It's not. I did my maths wrong, but there's a lot, and that makes us unpredictable for other teams. And then, like David said, we also have the 3-5-2 that we could play. It could be a 3-4-1-2. Bentancur is good enough to play in a more advanced position, so it's difficult to know what Tottenham are going to do in any given game. And all of those variations that we have there are very, very good players.
Do you know, just to add to that quickly, I'm just sorry, I'm getting too super excited. But when you look at that, we now enter a season where no other team knows what way we're going to set up. Like Matty was saying, the amount of variations. So that will do us the world of good early heading into the Premier League season. But if like this at this times this season where the formation has been found out, we actually now have the ability to switch. A lot of people are giving out, why don't we try this? Why don't we try that? And I've sat there all season long saying, because we don't have the players. We know what happens when you bring Winks into a midfield. We know what happens when you bring other certain players in. Now we have the players. Now we can adjust formations. But just looking at them names there, if you're looking at them names, you're coming up against Tottenham Hotspur and you're playing centre midfield and you are not willing to put in the hard graft, we will dominate you all day long now. Yeah. We've got 4 very hard-working midfielders there. It's not going to be an easy time against Tottenham in midfield no more.
Never going to be an easy time, exactly, Dave. And Dark Sun G is echoing the same thing. Spurs Talk Show saying, I'm too happy today to not be happy, but he ain't free.
He's technically
Is he talking
free,
about Bissouma or Eriksen?
With Eriksen. Do you know what? I'm actually going to disagree quickly here with Sean on this. Because with Eriksen, he's not going to be able to command his transfer fee and value in any sort of negotiations purely because of what happened to the guy. And it's a risk of a club taking him. So he won't be able to charge that transfer fee that you usually get in your high wages and your signing on fee. So I think this one could end up more or less being free, Shawnee. We'll wait and see. I'll put a 20 quid bet on it with you.
Nothing's free. Nothing's free. Spurs Talk Show says Dennis covers all of the front 3 as well. And he also scored more than Richarlison. I completely agree here with John. I think actually Dennis is probably the best of the options. It just seems like maybe he's ungettable or something, or maybe Spurs have been turned off by something about the guy, but he did have the most non-penalty goals, I think, of all those kind of, bottom, kind of Premier League sort of strikers. And as well, I think, he was scoring a lot of goals, with a Watford team that was chopping and changing managers every, week. And he still was finding a way, to keep that consistency in that form. And lastly, I do feel like Dennis, just a bit of a flat cap Euro moment, I feel like he has the most nutmegs or something in Europe or whatever it was like this season too. So he is an exciting player, I must say, Sean.
Finally getting our Dele Alli replacement.
Just on Richarlison, we do have to remember a lot of his snaps are manipulated, not in the best way possible, purely because he spent most of the season under Rafa Benitez. That you have to take that into consideration. The guy is the most defensive manager I've ever come across, and he's always been like that. He's never changed his ways. So, look, you already seen what someone like Richarlison actually did do at Watford before he made the jump to Everton. But he starts at Everton, especially last season, and manipulated not in his favour purely because of Rafa Benitez's style of football. So we have to remember that when it comes to Richarlison.
Clueless Lampard. And clueless Lampard on top of that as well. I mean, he hasn't been blessed with good managers, that's for sure. But I do agree with you there, Shawnee. And then I think maybe last one here, and then we're going to move on to the other news. Spurs 72 saying, have you guys heard anything about us being linked to the Udinese guy, Destiny Udogie? He's been a left back and a left wing back. Seth's on his way. Sorry, Maddie, take this away.
Sessegnon isn't going anywhere. I think that's the first thing we can say very, very confidently. Ryan Sessegnon is not going anywhere. And if he did, I would riot, and I wouldn't stop until we brought him back. We're being continuously linked with more left backs. Destiny Udogie is only one of many. There's Pervis Estupiñán from Villarreal. We've been linked as well with Owen Weindal from AZ Alkmaar in the last couple of days as well. For me, that just tells me that Perisic hasn't been brought in as a left wing back, and maybe he's been brought in more as a utility player in the front line. Of course, he could still play in left back, but these things I think tell me that Tottenham are looking to maybe bring in another left back. As for Destiny Udogie, it's a complicated one. He's on loan from Hellas Verona at Udinese right now. They have a loan with an obligation to buy, which means they will be buying him this summer no matter what. If we want to then get a deal done, that puts us in the same situation that we were in with Christian Romero last summer, where we need to get him on loan with an option or obligation to buy further down the line. I know it's something that Paratici likes to do. It's just a little bit messy. Inter Milan, quite funnily, are also interested in Udogie, but it seems to be as a backup option if Denzel Dumfries leaves the club this summer. But yeah, it's turning into a very complicated, very messy window with a lot of potential domino effects starting, and I feel like Udogie is just one cog in a massive machine that I don't think Tottenham are very heavily interested in, but there is definitely interest there.
Yeah, and I think the key point there is that we are being linked with a lot of left wing backs recently. And Dave, what do you make of the fact that we've been linked with so many left wing backs recently?
Look, I kind of agree with. Look, maybe Perisic has been maybe he'd be over on the right hand side. Who knows? But the fact that we are linked with left wing backs, it definitely does look like we probably will be looking to get someone else in them positions. But we've seen this with Paratici before. We know how he operates. There's a lot of things put out there as a smokescreen while we're operating on other things. Example, Bissouma. Now, Matty, I know you'll be able to delve more into this, but it's reported he was actually at Tottenham Way. I think it was this guy the last couple of days or the last days, but his agent has been sick or whatever else. But look at all the links out there. Not in linking Tottenham to Bissouma whatsoever. All these other links out there. I wouldn't be surprised if we're not actually interested in this guy. It was just put out there just so that, it was a smokescreen to hide the fact that Tottenham were set to announce Bissouma and that none of the other big clubs could come in last minute and take this guy off our hands.
It's clever. Yeah. It's preventing another Willian or Luis Diaz situation. And look, I mean, we've all spoken about it endlessly. The Paratici likes to do this, and he has proved that he can do this with the likes of Weston McKennie and Brian Hill. I look forward to the day where he does it to the extent that Aston Villa do it, where they just announce the signing. Like there's no links out there. They did it with Danny Ings. They did it with Callum Chambers and almost with Diego Carlos. I look forward to that, but it's still brilliant. The first link you get to a player is, oh yeah, we agreed a deal. You'll be a Spurs player. That's always nice.
It's almost like whack-a-mole, it feels like, the way that we do kind of transfers. So honestly, just maybe guess the right one and you might be satisfied. But Spurs 72, I think you got your answer, my man, with Udogie. Really class answer there from Matty. No better person to have on for that sort of answer, my man. Big up Spurs 72. I think we're going to move on to Djed Spence. And we're going to talk about the fact that David Ornstein from The Athletic has reported that Djed Spence has expressed his preference to sign for Tottenham this summer. Negotiations are ongoing between Middlesbrough and Tottenham over a fee. No agreement has been reached so far, but talks are ongoing. There was that initial kind of release from The Guardian, I must say, Matty, which really threw me off guard because they were saying that a transfer fee had been agreed for around £20 million. But then there are other reports suggesting that, Spurs are kind of lowballing, Middlesbrough and maybe throwing around £10 million. Can you make sense of the situation for me? Like, do you know, what the situation is with Spence? Because like I said, The Guardian reported, maybe we've already thrown in a £20 million bid. Some have said we haven't bid at all. Some are saying we're lowballing them. Do you know what the situation is by chance?
I think people are getting too caught up in the whole idea of an official bid, because with the way these negotiations work, from some of the different kind of reporters I've listened to and how people within the game as well who've described it. Let's say Tottenham put in an official bid tomorrow of £15 million. That's not just a figure they've plucked out of anywhere. That's not just a figure they've decided. Like, when you go into playing FIFA and you inquire about a player and they say 15, you go, okay. There will have been a lot of negotiations going on before Tottenham ever make that official bid. So I'm not too concerned over whether or not we have actually put in that first bid. There's definitely talks ongoing. And there's definitely some sort of negotiations going on there, and there seems to be confidence on every side that a deal will be completed and that Spence will be a Tottenham player. It's going to heat up from today in the next week or two, because Spence is just back from international duty. So I don't think the intricacies of where the deal is at, or the specifics are what we really need to focus on. It's a deal that will get done, and it's a deal that will be done for between 15 and 20 million pounds. Maybe the structure of the deal is something that still needs to be decided. But like you say, the player has chosen Tottenham, which I think there was a slight concern after he said hopefully he'd be playing for Forest next season after they won the playoffs. But I don't think it was ever a massive concern that he would decide to go to another team instead of us. I think once we went in there with legitimate interest and with a proper bid, I think we were always going to get the player.
And just a quick follow-up, since the reports, have been, sort of, I guess, divided on, his incoming, do you feel like maybe Spurs, is there a chance that like somebody out of nowhere just comes in, instead, like a Wilfred Singo or like a Nawal Molina, all of a sudden that just gets signed instead of Spence? Or do you feel like, the Spence eventually it's just going to be wrapped up?
Yeah, I think Spence will be wrapped up. I wouldn't think that the reports about Spence are the smoke screens, because if it's a smoke screen coming from Paratici, I would imagine every report would be saying pretty much the same thing. Because if he briefs the press to say we're interested in Richarlison, they want 60 million, which seems to be typically what we're getting from the English press at the moment, I think there would be a kind of a uniform report coming out from all these different sources. So I don't think it is a Paratici smokescreen, but what I do think it is probably journalists are aware that Tottenham are confident a deal can be done, and probably like us expect a deal to be done, and maybe are trying to jump the gun and be the first to say a bid has gone in or a deal has been agreed, because it seems inevitable. Because that seems inevitable. So maybe they're just trying to get their story without actually having their info spot on. But yeah, again, I just think it is inevitable that no matter what, this will get over the line.
Thank you for clearing that up for me, Maddie. I do really actually appreciate that. And there you are, everybody. An explanation for maybe my guiltiness and jumping the gun a bit there. But Dave, Spurs fans not only seem divided on the reports about Spence coming into this club, but they're also kind of divided on their opinion even on the player in general. What do you think, why do you think they're even divided on the player? And do you think that this is a transfer that will actually end up working out?
I think people are divided because it all comes down to what their definition of backing Conte is, and everybody will have a different definition. Look, for me, when you look at the business with Djed Spence, I can see what Tottenham are trying to do here by getting this guy in. It's more one for the future. It's one that you look what Conte has done with some of the wing backs that he's worked with. Moses at Chelsea, for example, he gave him a football career more or less, And I think, look, Conte, we've seen at Tottenham. Conte is the wing back whisperer, Jack. He got something out with Doherty, got something out of Emerson when needed, got something out with Sessegnon where Jose Mourinho failed to do. The guy's the fullback whisperer. And for me, I think why we're going after him, Jack, is because we look what we've done with Kyle Walker and Danny Rose. We got them in younger than Djed Spence, actually.
Yeah.
And we sent them out on loan, let them develop. Now, look, I think it could be the case with Djed Spence. And when you bring him in, Jack, I think we're also looking to maybe fill out the English quota, which, look, for me, it's never really a problem because you can just use youngsters to do that anyway. I think he'll definitely go towards that. But, Jack, this is a guy that I see a lot of people reporting saying this guy has attitude problems, but it's not true. I've gone and I've done some homework into this guy, Jack. And this guy, at nearly every opportunity, from getting out of the team he was playing with in around Croydon that time, to get to Fulham, and then move on, etc., etc. He has been overlooked every single time, and he's had to go away, work on his game, come back a better player to earn that contract for the next couple of years. He's had to do it every single time. At Middlesbrough, they loaned him out to Nottingham Forest. Again, he had to come in and prove his worth, and he done that. He took his opportunity. This is a guy that you can mold, you can develop. He will look to improve at Tottenham Hotspur. He's that sort of guy. Now, look, I get it. The playoff final, which is where most people would have watched this guy, didn't have the best of games. But Nottingham Forest have been down in the Championship for so long, Once they went 1-0 up, they were never going to keep getting Djed Spence to keep bombing forward, doing the overlapping runs that he has been doing all season. They have their Premier League promotion to protect, and they ended up getting it by playing the way they did. Some people may have watched them for the under-21s. I'll be honest, I've looked around all the internationals. Not really a place to judge them off. Everyone just wants to be on holiday. Nobody wants to be out there playing these sort of games. But for me, I think this is definitely one for the future. I know it's not in the remit of what Conte wants, but you look at some of the players, some of the people we're bringing in behind the scenes. Scolding, he's here to help bring in players for the future. He's done that at Rangers. That guy Simon Davies, he's here to work with the whole youth academy. Steinson, I believe, is also kind of, well, he's more or less Paratici's number 2, but he can also at Everton. He brought in a lot of players for the future at Everton and stuff like that. So we also have to get that in place, even under Conte's tenure, of getting players to get them in nice and early, get them into the academy, and get them coming up into the first team squad. And I do think there's an element of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Clement, that's exactly what Dave was talking about. I think there's just, a bit of false reporting maybe in that case. Like Djed Spence is almost completely the opposite.
You can go and read it.
Completely the opposite. Yeah.
You can go and read it when it comes to Djed Spence. To get out of the team at Croydon that he was playing at, he was at the same team as Emil Smith can't row a boat. He was the last one picked out of there to go into an academy. He got to Fulham's academy. They weren't, nearly every single season, they weren't sure whether to keep him on or not. And he was always the last one to kind of get his contract. But the reason why he was getting it is because he was going away working hard. That's why Middlesbrough took the punt on him. Okay, it didn't work out. As soon as he went to Nottingham Forest, got his head down, worked hard, got himself into a team, and got promotion to the Premier League. At the end of the day, the guy has had, due to all his hard work, he's had a pretty rapid rise this season. Nobody knew who he was at the start of this season, but he's had a pretty rapid rise. And when you look at the guy, you look at all the attributes. He has all the attributes to succeed and be a top right wing back or a top right back in this country. And the fact that he's English, I think that's why Tottenham are willing to take a punt on him, because we failed on that the last few years. We've tried to do it, the likes of Jack Clark, etc. We spent the money wrongly. And this one, and there's always going to be an element to every sort of summer transfer window where you are looking towards the future. It's football, it's big money. How many players have you seen come through academies and they go and they end up going for big money? There's a business to be made around it. And I think that's why we're doing it. It's cheap enough as well.
I think with the reason we brought in that, Rangers guy in the first place is because Spurs have been more kind of lenient towards or more comfortable with spending big fees and bringing players, from Europe instead of, trying to look within the English pyramid, because even under Hitchin, who sort of had, I think, more of an expertise, I think, on the English pyramid, we still were missing like most of the ones that we were doing with Joe Rodon, with Jack Clark. Sessegnon has only just started, kind of coming good. And there are other examples as well there. So I think, Dave, that's a good point. And I think bringing in that Rangers guy will allow Spurs to, have expertise in the European market in the case of maybe Paratici, but then also have experts in this English pyramid system where we can save money in certain cases and also be able to help out this homegrown quota, because what keeps happening is we keep adding players to help with the homegrown quota, but none of the players we're adding actually improve the squad by any means. They're just there just to meet the quota. And maybe this Rangers guy will actually bring in players that not only meet the quota, but actually improve the squad as well, which I think is what we've been struggling with, to be fair.
We also have to stand, this is my last point on it, we also have to understand every summer or every transfer window, we can't keep going into that window looking to get the best right back and spend 40, 50, 60, 70 million. Every single window or every time a right back goes, you're having to keep spending that. It's not a sustainable business model. At some stage, you do have to look at the players for the future and get them coming through. So it saves you on this area. It means you can spend the money on this area. So I do think it is smart by Tottenham. We do have to understand you can't keep shelling out the money that we're spending on these positions, and we haven't nailed it down properly. Look at the money we spent. Emerson, Doherty. Look at the money we spent since Kyle Walker to try and get his replacement. Well, Kyle Walker, we identified young, got him out on loan, got him into the first team. I think we're going to go down that same route with Djed Spence. We can't keep spending the money on that position and it not working out. So I think this is maybe a new route to go down. And look, Skolden brought Bassi from the Leicester Academy to Rangers. plus a number of other Joe Rebo from Charlton over there, which a lot of clubs around England wanted him.
Yeah,
this guy
he's
has a good understanding of the English system and the young players coming through, and he will help Tottenham in that regards as well.
Just last little question here on Spence, Maddie. The one thing that I have, kind of seen is that he is an exceptional dribbler and an exceptional ball carrier, but he does have some pretty elite speed and pace, kind of similar to the likes of maybe a Kyle Walker in the past. But I'll be honest, those are kind of the two attributes that I feel like he could bring into this team right away. Do you think there's something I'm missing, or do you think those are kind of the two attributes that he excels at and maybe he has to improve on others?
No, those are probably his best attributes. I was reading an article on Stream last week or the week before, and I was already kind of skeptical of the move, and then I kind of talked myself out of even wanting it to happen. But no, I think it is one that needs to happen. One of the criticisms I saw on there is that Spence doesn't seem to have the fluency between receiving the ball and immediately knowing what to do with it. Like it seems to be a two-step process for him, where one, he receives the ball, then second, he figures out what he wants to do, instead of I don't know, an elite right back like Trent Alexander-Arnold, like Kyle Walker, like Matt Doherty. Obviously he's unbelievable, where when they get that ball, they know straight out with that first touch what they want to do. If they want to play a pass and make the run down the line, if they want to run themselves. Spence seems to have that extra second or two where he needs to think about what he's doing. And look, I mean, I suppose that comes with age. And like Angel says, he has what he can teach. Maybe the things that he is lacking is the bits that you can teach, or that defensive awareness, I think, is one that has been questioned a bit. And again, that kind of fluency in what he wants to do and what he needs to do on the ball. But he has electric pace, and his dribbling ability, maybe the end product is lacking a bit. I think as well, I saw them describe the crosses as he crosses towards an area rather towards a specific player. Yeah. So if he gets down the line, if he gets down the line, he's going to dink it into the penalty spot when Harry Kane might be at the front post and Son might be at the back post. But hopefully, with the way we're building our team, we're going to have Kulusevski at the front post, Son at the back post, Kane in the 6-yard box, Bentancur in the 6-yard or on the penalty spot, Bissouma on the edge of the box. Maybe we're going to be committing a lot of men forward, so that's not the biggest concern. But there's definitely a lot within his game that he still needs to fine tune. But he's only 21 years of age, and I think a lot of the weaknesses or a lot of the skills that he's lacking, I think you can put down to naivety and inexperience. Yeah. And as I always say, there's no better man to fix that and to make him the player he needs to be than Antonio Conte.
Absolutely.
Don't get us wrong either. I mean, it's not an ideal situation where, Doherty and then Emerson, you sort of like, again, he's one you have to work on the end product with. But you look at Djed Spence, the athleticism, the pace, the power, the strength, the hard work. You can't teach any of that. You can't teach that. But what you can do is you can teach them how to cross a football. Look for instance, learn Harry Kane's movement so you know exactly where to put that ball, etc., etc. They're all things that you can work with this guy. Decision making, you can work with this guy. But what he has is raw attributes of an out-and-out athlete. Everything else will come. Everything else will come with this guy. Look, I get it. It's not ideal, but for me, I think it's a clever signing. You always have to have one eye on the future.
Always have to have one eye on the future. Last player that, Spurs are kind of probably heavily linked with after this Bissouma one has been Christian Eriksen. And Christian Eriksen has been reported to have rejected a new contract offer from Brentford. It's been 12 months since Eriksen last collapsed with a cardiac arrest on the pitch in Euro 2020. The 30-year-old has made 11 Premier League appearances, helping Brentford secure their Premier League status by adding 1 goal and 4 assists in those 11 Premier League appearances. Eriksen also worked with boss Antonio Conte during his time at Inter, and Conte said a return to North London would be a good opportunity for him at a press conference in February. Maddie, my first question to you, with Conte, those kind of words that he said there, is it Conte, being nice and kind of considerate, to Eriksen, or do you think he actually really would want him and take him back at Spurs?
Surely he wants him. Surely he does. Eriksen was so crucial to that Inter Milan team that won the Scudetto in 2021. I'd be surprised if Conte immediately dismissed the potential to bring Eriksen back. Maybe at the time he hadn't made a decision. Back in January, I mean, Conte didn't know the squad. He didn't know his best squad. We didn't have Kulusevski and Bentancur. He didn't know what positions we needed to invest in. So maybe maybe since then he's realised we need a number 10 and Eriksen is top of that list, or maybe he's realised we don't need a number 10 and for that reason Eriksen isn't on the list at all. But I think of one of those, it would probably be the former. I think he wants Eriksen, and I'd be surprised if there's many around Tottenham that want Eriksen. Now, since we went live, David Ornstein has said that Manchester United have made an offer to Christian Eriksen. There's quotes resurfacing from Eriksen where he said he wants Champions League, but it's not essential to him. So I think we are going to face competition from United. Look, Alistair Gold said that Eriksen would prefer to stay in London, but
yeah,
I mean, if United make an offer now and Tottenham haven't made their mind up yet, I wouldn't be too surprised to see Eriksen take that offer from Man United and go there. And as I saw a good friend of mine, United Cloud on Twitter, he mentioned that Erik ten Hag welcomed Eriksen to train with Ajax last year before he made that return to football at Brentford. So there's a connection there between Eriksen and ten Hag already. So maybe that puts United in the driving seat. But I'd be very surprised if Conte didn't want to see Eriksen back in his team.
Just quickly on that London element as well, like, Matty, I know you're not, eating dinner with Christian Eriksen every night, unfortunately, but do you feel like he wants, yeah, you could still be invited, sitting invitation. Do you feel like, Christian, is that like something we should really take seriously that he wants to stay in London, or is that something that, at the end of the day, like he would see past, maybe he would just move to Manchester?
I think it's a factor that a lot of fans often overlook. Last summer, for example, everyone, when I was talking about Pochettino maybe coming back to Tottenham, which was a real possibility, everyone was saying, "Oh, but he's with PSG. He has all this money. He's got Messi and Mbappe. He's living in Paris and this and that." But the fact of the matter was, his entire family lived in London. His wife and his son lived in London. So
his son's at Watford, isn't he?
Yeah, his son's actually been released from Watford, but he was there up until the end of the season. So there are so many personal factors that decide what a player wants to do. And for Eriksen with his partner and their young kids, to leave London a couple of years ago to go to Milan, then I don't know, were they back in the Netherlands after what happened to Eriksen when he was training with Ajax? I know there was a time he's with a team in Denmark. Then they go back to Brentford, they go back to London, and then uprooting them again to Manchester. It could just really be a personal and family decision that Eriksen is making to stay in London. Ultimately, we don't know the reason behind the preference that he has, if it is true, which I assume it is because it's coming from Alistair Gold. But I really do think people need to start paying more attention to the personal implications of transfers like this.
I agree, actually. That was a really good point there. And so, Dave, if that really does have a lot of value for him, staying in London, being as close to his, wife and kids, does that mean there's really only one destination maybe available to him?
Look, all I'm going to say about Man United is Eriksen did do an interview, and he did say, look, Champions League isn't the be-all and end-all, but I would like to be back there. Champions League for me is where I want to be. It's fun. So if we're going by what his own words were in an interview, well, then Tottenham's a no-brainer. Man United can't offer Champions League football, can they? So for me, I think when you look at Eriksen, look, I think Matt is correct. You do have to take a lot of his personal circumstances into account. He has said before that he does want to try and stay around London if he can. And for me, Jack, I think it's a no-brainer that Tottenham get him. Look, I'll be honest. I'm the first one to hold my hands up. I was pissed off with the circumstances in the way he left the club. He did down tools. But look, at the end of the day, he's come back from a cardiac arrest. He's only my biggest problem is that he's only played 11 games, so it is a bit of a gamble. Yes, he's got one goal. I think it was 4 assists, you said, Jack. But for me, the reason why I'm happy with it now is, Jack, is because he's not our main midfield signing this summer.
Yeah.
Bissouma is. You also have other options there, like Skip, Bentancur, Højbjerg, and all he's doing is adding another option to that. Yeah. Like Matty has said, Conte has worked underneath him. Conte has said previously in press conferences and stuff while Tottenham manager that, it'd be stupid for Tottenham not to look at the possibility. So for me, I think this is one that definitely has legs to it. The fact that he's rejected Brentford, and then you're going on his quotes about Champions League football and wanting to stay in London. I mean, it's a no-brainer that he signs for Tottenham Hotspur. But the reason why, like I said, I'm happy with it is because he's not our main midfielder, and we won't exactly have to rely on him next season.
I agree with that. Last question from me here for both of you here, lads, and it's quite an easy one. thoughts on Bissouma plus Eriksen? Do you feel like, Bissouma is that midfielder, he's the star midfielder that we're going after, like David was just saying, Matt, but maybe adding Eriksen, is that, sort of the cherry on top, you feel like, for the midfield signings? Does it make sense? Like, does it just go together almost like, chocolate sauce on ice cream? It just makes sense, Eriksen and Bissouma. Is that, fit together well, do you think?
Yeah, I think it does. The one thing that I've always been saying about the Eriksen signing is it allows us to switch things up within midfield to go to that 3-4-1-2 that Conte played with Inter in the second season. And if you're going to have two players in the midfield, whether it's a 3-4-3 or a 3-4-1-2 or a 1-1-1-2, 1-1-1, whatever way you want to talk about it, having two midfielders, you need a powerhouse. You need athletic players. You need a Bissouma and you need a Bentancur, to be perfectly honest. So whatever we play, I think Bissouma is a brilliant player to have in there, and he offers the ability for the players around him to be a bit more free. And if we're going to get Eriksen in, I think the best thing that we can get from him is for him to be that player who just floats, who doesn't have any defensive responsibilities. Just put him in the number 10 position, say, do what you want, because that's where he flourishes. And I think Bissouma offers a lot of protection to allow him to be able to do that.
Great answer there, Matty. Dave, what are your thoughts? Does it make sense, signing Eriksen plus Bissouma? Bissouma, like Matty's was saying, is that all-action midfielder, that athletic midfielder that every team needs. And then Eriksen is kind of, that missing piece, that maybe we just still needed to add. But you can do it for a lot cheaper with Eriksen.
Yeah. Look, first of all, for people that think pace make a footballer, because I constantly hear about pace, especially with Harry Kane, dropping for pace. For those who do think that pace makes a player, well, then they've got to be happy with Bissouma. Look, for me, Jack, I think with Eriksen, just kind of expand on what Matthew's saying, I think you go back, look under Pochettino, our problems weren't against teams that sat deep against us. It was problems against the bigger boys. But with Eriksen, the reason why there wasn't a problem against some of the small teams, because Eriksen plays between the opposition's defence and midfield. He picks up them spaces, gets on the ball, and that's where he likes to manoeuvre. We haven't had that at Tottenham. We've been looking at Harry Kane to drop as deep as possible, trying it on the ball and start attacks. But when you have someone like Eriksen operating between the lines, it gives them something to guess about. It also creates more space for the opposition for our players. So I think that definitely helps us in that aspect against lower block teams. I think you look at Bissouma, I think he's going to be perfect for against the bigger teams. All action, loads of legs in midfield, plenty of pace to get around, get stuck in. And like Matty's saying, if we do want to go for a three, you can have, depending on the team, you can have Højbjerg and Bissouma, or you can have Bissouma and Bentancur as your base with Eriksen floating, and it gives you that different sort of option. Look, having these two players in here, Jack, it gives Conte options that weren't necessarily available to him last season.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the whole key of this. It brings in strength and squad depth, which hopefully now you won't see what happened to us like in the likes of the FA Cup, where Conte looks at the other players around him and says, your shit. Same team, go out there again. You won't see that. You can put other players in there, to get these results over the line. And you won't see what we've seen like in the Europa Conference League, Jack, where you're playing donkeys out there like a Lo Celso and Ndombele and Ali, who doesn't want to be here, or Winks, who is not good enough to be here. But now you can go into these cup games. You can put out a partnership of, for instance, Skip and Højbjerg, if they are second fiddle next season. They're going out there, A, with a point to prove, B, with a good attitude, and C, they want to be at Tottenham. So you will get performances in them squads. What it allows then is any youngsters that Tottenham are looking back, or that is held back for this season, you can put them out in them games with these top solid professionals, and they can help them get through the games. Last season, Dane Scarlett, Gil Messi, other players fell victim and couldn't make a statement at Tottenham because of the players they were playing with. Players in midfield who didn't care, who couldn't get a grip of the game and get them the ball to help and try and watch them excel and shine. You will have none of that crap anymore. Another reason why Spence is coming in is because he's hard-working. Conte will work with players. We've seen that this season. Although maybe not the best technically, he will work with players that have the right desire and the right hunger and the right work ethic, the desire to improve, people that work hard. And this, for me, is only going in one direction, and it's getting exciting. And it's 4 days in, and we still have most of the window to go. And look, I reckon it'll hold because Conte's demands are he wants them in before preseason because he wants to work with everybody.
Clock is ticking.
So next season, it's going to be a good one. I can feel it.
He's getting in his players before the preseason, exactly what he wanted, but still work to be done. Exactly. Dark Sun G saying Don Paratici is going to have some fun cooking the transfers. He still has a bit of cleaning to do. Still has some players he's got to get out. There's that big Tanguy, problem that he's going to have to figure out, but he is able to do some cooking. And I think even Matty just said in the back end earlier, he's just adding all these different spices and whatnot that we had no idea were even possible to put into a dish. Dark Sun G. Big up, my man. He also says, I love how so far the Gooners have only brought a youngster. Yeah, they brought in Marquinhos, Dave, but the wrong kind.
Yeah, look, Arsenal. Look, Jack, this was always going to happen to them. I've said this going into the North London Derby. I've said it for some time now. Even Matty, I've spoke to you about this on the Tottenham Hour podcast. Mikel Arteta does not have the pulling power of Antonio Conte. There's a reason why Perisic has come to Tottenham. There's a reason why Bissouma has chose Tottenham over Arsenal. There's a reason why Djed Spence is coming to Tottenham, even though Arsenal were reported to be rumoured. There's a reason why, even though Arsenal are after Rafinha and supposedly we're linked, if it's true, he will choose Tottenham because Mikel Arteta, look, you look at what's happened over there. He's got rid of Aubameyang. He's got rid of all the look. Regardless of what people think of Aubameyang, he scored them goals consistently for years. He's got rid of a lot of the players that had a voice at that club, and has completely cleared the deck with the ones that know, the ones that have played at that world-class level, that look at him and know he is not the right guy, that you're not going to win anything underneath him, etc., etc., etc. So then they kick up, they speak out, he clears the deck, he gets rid of them. Arsenal have backed the wrong guy when it comes to Mikel Arteta. He does not have the respect of senior players, and that's why you're seeing the players come to Tottenham over Arsenal. Plus, we're now offering Champions League. Arsenal had no Europe last season. No Europe. They won't be near the Champions League places by the end of the season next season. I bet anyone 100 quid. They won't be in the running for top four. They just won't. And for me, that's the whole reason why, is the caliber of manager. Conte can ring players and say, come play for me. They're on the next flight over. Okay, boss, I'm on my way. Family's coming tomorrow. Arteta rings them, says, come play for me. Oh, well, I want 100 grand extra on my wages each week. I want a signing on fee of 30, 40 million. They're getting ripped off. Arsenal are now in a position where they have to pay over the odds for players to get them to come to Arsenal Football Club. But then you're at risk of getting players that are only coming for the money. Whereas we're getting players that are coming for the manager that see themselves winning things. And that's the difference. Arsenal are done out here. Bye-bye.
Big difference as well. Big difference.
I hate
the big difference is Antonio Conte is the kind of manager that players ask for his number. Nobody asks for the Lego man's number. Nobody asks for his number. I don't think anybody ever has, if you ask me. But Dark Sunday, honestly, it's going pretty well for us so far, transfer-wise. For the Gooners, pretty quiet over there, my man. But that's all the questions that I have so far. On today, Eriksen, Djed, Spence, Bissouma, we've covered all of that. Dave, maybe pass it back to you. I mean, that's what I've come prepared with today.
Yeah, look, we'll go to Matty and see what maybe some of the outgoings are, because we can't keep bringing in players without offloading players. We do have to offload some of this deadwood. But before we do, everybody's 365 in-house. Absolutely incredible. Smash that like button. The thumbs up, just absolutely obliterate it. You don't even have to. You can just tap it if you want. I don't mind. Just press it. Also, that subscribe button, guys. Big push for 7K is on. Only a couple of hundred away. So smash that subscribe button. And guys, feel free to get your super chats in with any questions for myself, Matt, Jack, whether you agree, disagree with anything we've said over the course of the show, with some of the signings that potentially should be coming to Tottenham Hotspur. So guys, get them in. It's a great way to help support this channel. But do not worry, we understand it is a big bad world out there. There's inflation, everything's gone up. Even the price of my chipper's gone up. I'm absolutely outraged. I understand money's tight, so at least just get your comments in the chat. We do have Matt's channel in there as well, guys. So do get over there and smash that subscribe button as the show is going on. And Jax will be dropped in there as well for the flatcapeurotalk, where he will be putting out a nice Bissouma video over there, guys. So make sure you smash the subscribe there. But look, Matty, outgoings. What else can we expect? And then after that, I want to talk maybe what defenders we can expect coming in here after.
I'm going to hijack this a little bit and just talk about one more incoming for a second. I was told yesterday that Tottenham had wrapped up a deal to sign Josh Keeley. under 19s goalkeeper from St. Pat's in Ireland. I won't pretend to know anything about him. I don't really care about Irish football, but he's held in very high regard. And Alistair Gola said in the last 20 or so minutes that Tottenham have secured that deal. So that's a sign. I suppose that will be signing number 3. Maybe Bissouma will be number 4, but it's a done deal nonetheless. In terms of outgoings, oh, good luck finding footage of him playing. The one thing I can say on the terms of outgoings is, according to Matt Law, Bissouma coming in means that Harry Winks is more likely to go out, which is even better news. And I actually can confirm that Harry Winks will be leaving the club if you hit the like button on this video. So I think we know what you need to do. Other outgoings, Giovanni Lo Celso we mentioned a lot. Gary Jacob, who obviously got that Bissouma news first today. He was first at Lautaro Martinez, I remember last summer as well. He has said that Villarreal are willing to offer £16 million plus an additional £5 million for Lo Celso, but Tottenham want more, which I think we just need to just take the 21 million and move on. Now, with negotiations ongoing with just cash, I start to kind of wonder how serious we are with Pau Torres, because if we're trying to get him a swap deal with Lo Celso is the best thing that we could possibly do. So I wonder where that actually lies, but I think it is inevitable that Lo Celso does move on to Villarreal. Antonio Conte reportedly wants to sell 8 players after the signing of Bissouma. This is Gary Jacob again. He is saying that they include Sergio Reguilon, Emerson Royal, Tanguy Ndombele, Giovanni Lo Celso, and Steven Bergwijn, who is I think is going to be our never-ending saga of this window. Ajax are heavily interested. Bergwijn has made it very, very clear that he wants to leave Tottenham, I think to the point that he's actually disrespecting the club and the fans with how often he's saying it. But it seems as though the valuation that each club has of the player is just miles off. And Michael Bridge said exactly that. Mike Verwij of the Telegraph in the Netherlands, who has been number one source for this deal, has said that Ajax were warned, I think by Bergwijn's agents, that if they didn't stump up the cash as soon as that the price could rise. And Bergwijn's international performances seems to have done just that, because he's scoring for fun with the Netherlands. And again, with how keen everyone is to get this done, with how publicly Ajax want to sign him, I think that allows Tottenham to ask for $1 million or 2 more. And that at the moment seems to be the problem that Ajax are facing. Now, in terms of them needing to bring players in, Manchester United have inquired about their winger Antony. So they want to get Bergwijn in anyway, but it could be a much more important deal for them if they do lose Antony to Manchester United. Other outgoings off the top of my head, Alistair Gold. Which one?
Carter Vickers, he's done deal.
Yeah, that's an official one. Carter Vickers has joined Celtic. That's a permanent deal made official, £6 million rising to £10 million, which is a very good deal for a player who's played one competitive game for us in the last 5 years. He's been loaned to Ipswich, Stoke, Luton, Bournemouth, and another team in Celtic. So to get potentially up to 10 million for a player like that, I think is fantastic. Fantastic move for Tottenham. Joe Rodon, if I had to guess, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up at Nottingham Forest. Troy Parrott will be loaned out next season. Alfie Devine, the same. And that's all I can think of off the top of my head.
Just quickly, Matt, on Troy Parrott, because as you know, I've been on Troy Parrott watch the last couple of weeks, Matty, dedicating all my time to the big Troy. And look, he's absolutely on fire at the minute. Is it a cert that he will go back on loan? Or is it a case he has pre-season to work under Conte? Conte give him maybe a bit of a regime and see how he does over pre-season before the decision is made. Because, Matty, he is on absolute fire right now. Honestly, Dublin Fire Brigade have to be on standby. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't think he has a chance this season. And I'm not exactly upset with that either, because he's competing with Son, Kane, Kulusevski, and at least one more that we're going to be bringing in. And... he's just not good enough for the Premier League right now. He's not good enough for a team competing for top 4 in the Premier League. So we will be doing him a disservice, and it's possibly the worst thing we could do to keep him at the club and keep him on the bench. I was on the Cheese Room podcast last night. I said he did well at MK Dons last season. He ended the season really strongly. Of course, doing well in international duty at the moment. So the next natural step will be a loan to the Championship. And Swansea had been mentioned by Wales Online yesterday. And the first thing I thought of when I saw the links to Swansea was Michael Obafemi plays there now.
Michael Abamesi. Get it right, Matty.
Apologies. Michael Abamesi. So there's already a good connection that he has there with him. Is Abamesi, who got that fantastic assist for Parrott's header against Wales or against Scotland. I think Cyrus Christie is there as well. So there is an Irish contingent. A team who do quite well with young players. Of course, Joe Rodon, we signed from them as well. So I think Swansea would be a good move. QPR were the other ones that I've seen mentioned. They've got Michael Beale in charge now, who did fantastically with Gerrard at Rangers and Aston Villa. So there's definitely good options there for Troy Parrott, and I think we will see him in the Championship next season.
And maybe last but not least, the likes of Alfie Devine, Dane Scarlett, what sort of level do you think we'd be loaning them out at this summer? League One, maybe?
League One, maybe League Two. It seems to have worked quite well with some of the players that we've loaned out to start League Two and kind of ease them up the way in the leagues. Kiana Tete, of course, went to Northampton at the start of last season, did quite well. Then it ended up at Cheltenham Town in League One in the second half of the season. He did quite well there as well. Jamie Bowden, we loaned out to Oldham last season in League Two. He played well, but it didn't really benefit him much. I know Harvey White went straight to League One with Portsmouth. I'm trying to think of some other names. Keziah Sterling, we had at Southend a couple of years ago. That didn't work out very well. That was League Two as well. It could be a case of, if I had to guess, I would say Alfie Devine in League Two and Dane Scarlett in League One, because in terms of the first team experience they have, and I think the quality and their age as well, that might work out the best for them.
Yeah, no, 100%. Quickly, Ollie Freeman's in the building. Ollie, you're a St. Pat's fan. Do some digging for this new goalkeeper, Matt. What's his name?
Josh Keeley.
Josh Keeley. Ollie, you're a Pats fan. I know you have connections there as well. So do the digging and get me some info on this guy if you can, my man. And guys, anyone that does want to do Troy Parrott scouting with me, you can join me back here tonight for the watch along as the Republic of Ireland take on Ukraine in the Nations League, and I will be on Parrott watch, so make sure you come and join me for that. As well, Matty, just quickly as well, centre backs coming into this club because look, we need them. I don't want to go into another season having to rely on Sanchez and Rodon as the backup, but I do agree with you. I think Rodon will end up at Nottingham Forest. But look, we also have to improve on at least one of Dyer or Davies, in my opinion, or at least get one or two centre backs in here this summer. How many centre backs are Tottenham actively in the market and looking to bring in this summer? And basically the Bastoni deal, Pau Torres deal, are they dead in the water?
In an ideal world, Tottenham would bring in two centre backs this summer, but the second depends on a departure for Joe Rodon, which I think everyone is trying to happen. And I see we were slightly just asking about Josh Keeley. That's a done deal. Keeley to Spurs. So Joe Rodon leaving and Davinson Sanchez leaving, and Alistair Gold has said that depends on what offers we get. So I don't think we're actively trying to sell Davinson Sanchez, but if the right offers comes in, we will be willing to do that. So ideally, we get two centre backs. We're definitely going to get one. We're going to sign a left-sided centre back. If we don't, there's no point in doing everything else because we need to improve in that position. Alessandro Bastoni, it's not over, but it's very, very unlikely. There's still a glimmer of hope that this happens, but Inter Milan seem to be trying to figure out ways to raise their money without selling Bastoni. And initially it seemed as though he was the one that they would sell, because in terms of trying to get money in, he's 2 years left in his contract. He's 23. He's exactly what a lot of teams are after. He's a rare commodity, a fantastic left-footed centre-back. So he was one that they could have raised a lot of money for, but he just seems so keen to stay. Inter Milan will need to sell. That is the only thing that's keeping any hope in this. So basically, they need to raise €60 million in transfers by the end of this month. So by the end of June, not the end of July, not the end of the window. It's by the end of June. And how they're going to do that is a big question, because they're close to signing Dybala. They're close to signing Gleison Bremer, Raul Beyanova, Christian Aslani. And there's another name there that I've forgotten. They're bringing in a lot of players, so they're going to need to sell. Milan Skriniar is attracting a lot of interest from PSG, but that could cost up to €80 million for PSG to get done. You kind of wonder, would they pay that? Stefan de Vrij has refused a new contract offer and could be out as well. And this is where this entire ridiculously huge domino effect starts, and it starts with Inter Milan and ultimately the decisions they make. Now, look, I think I said it in the Cheese Room podcast as well last night. Any faction of society outside of football fans would see his agent say he's definitely staying at Inter Milan and think, okay, this is over. But because we're football fans and because we're the eternal optimists that we are, and we feel as though there is still some sort of hope. And looking at it from my point of view, I really think that with the quotes from his agent and with Bastoni's activity on social media, I think what they're doing, obviously they'd rather stay. The first decision is they want to stay at Inter Milan, but if they are forced out, the entire onus and the entire blame for it happening is on Inter Milan, and it's nothing to do with Bastoni. So there's still hope, but it's probably not going to happen. On Pau Torres, surprisingly, it doesn't seem to be a priority right now, and my kind of thinking behind that is, well, they have to have something else they're working on. They simply have to, because left centre back is the priority. We're willing to spend Christian Romero money on it, as Jack Pitbrook said it. So I'm thinking maybe they might be trying to salvage that Bastoni deal, or maybe in typical Paratici fashion, there's another left centre back out there. But Bastoni, I'd say a 5% chance of happening. And Pau Torres, I think it is one that can happen if Tottenham actively go and try and get it done. But at the moment, they don't seem to want to do that.
Yeah, well, look, I still hold out hope for Bastoni for sure. But look, it's interesting to see everything on centre-back sort of gone quiet, which kind of makes me believe Paratici definitely has something in the works. I actually think it's brilliant that some of these signings are coming out of nowhere and that nobody has any sort of idea of what we're doing. It's not out there like it was before where you're giving clubs a chance to come in and steal your target. So I think we're definitely acting in a shrewd way. But Jack, I think we'll take some of these super chats and then maybe we'll look to end off. Josh Keeley is definitely confirmed. He has officially signed for Tottenham Hotspur. Ollie, if you're still tuning in with my man, please ask one of them coaches around it who want to come on and have a conversation with me about Josh Keeley. Maybe that'd be absolutely awesome. We could do maybe a 10-15 minute discussion. But look, we'll take these super chats and then we are going to end off, guys, because I am going to watch the Ireland under-21s hopefully qualify for an international competition for the first time in their lives. So that'll be absolutely awesome. But Dark Song G says, would you be surprised if we get 8 incomings before the transfer window closes? At this rate, I feel it could be possible with Conte and Paratici maybe stealing Tielemans. Matty?
I wouldn't be surprised at 8. To be honest, I don't think Tielemans would happen. To be honest, I wouldn't want it to happen. But we get in Bissouma, that will be our 3rd signing. Every report is still saying that Conte wants 4 more. And like we did with, what player was it we signed recently? There was a player that we signed last summer, I think it was. It could actually have been Reguilon 2 years ago, where we weren't actively in the market for a left back, but that opportunity arose and we couldn't turn it down. I assume there will be situations this summer where we become aware of players who are open to leaving or clubs who are open to selling players that we're interested in, and we might pursue a deal that we hadn't planned for, which could add to the 6, 7, 8 that we'd already planned for. So I think 8 is probably an accurate number rather than any sort of outrageous prediction on the amount of players we could bring in.
Jesus, I mean, if we get in 8, that is absolutely unbelievable. But hopefully, do you know it'd be interesting if we do get in 8 at the end of the if we do at the end of the window? I would like to compare Jose Mourinho, the 7 we got underneath him, compared to maybe what we do under Conte, and compare it to see if we have actually upgraded in terms of the players we're bringing in here. Very interesting, though, Dark Sung G. Look, I really like Tielemans. I don't see it happening now that we've got Bissouma in. I'll be honest. I think that one's dead in the water. I think that dream is gone, Dark Sung G. I think it's gone. But big up, Dark Sung G, my man. Really do appreciate the support. And Jack, he says the outgoings are the foreign players, which is good.
Yeah, the only one that's homegrown that I can think of is, Harry Winks at the end of the day. And apart from that, I can't think of too many other outgoings, to be fair. Maybe a Joe Rodon as well, but Dark Sun G, I think you're mostly right. I mean, especially the ones that are going to make us a bit of money, the ones that are going to, put a bit of coin, back into the transfer, kind of piggy bank. Certainly, some of the foreign players that we have, like Bergwijn, is going to get us a bit of, money from this. Tanguy, I really doubt it. Actually, I think it's just going to be some weird situation with that one. But you do look at some of the players that we could move on. They will, maybe even a Davinson Sanchez, if we decide moving him on, you could get a bit of, decent coin out of that. So I do agree with you there, Dark Sun G. Definitely can get some good money out of it.
Big up, Dark Sun G, brother. Again, really appreciate the support. Yeah. Big up, my man. Adrian Chia says teams with lesser World Cup players will do well. Agree. I I'm not sure, you know. Look, the World Cup will have many variations. How deep do your players go into it? Are they coming out of it with any sort of injuries? Look, it definitely could have big implications on the season, but I wouldn't say teams that do that with less World Cup players will do well. I still think you look at City, most of their squad will be there, same as Liverpool, same as Chelsea. Probably a good bit of our squad will be there as well. But I expect to see us all up around the top of the Premier League again come the end of the season, Adrian. I think what I will say is strength and depth will definitely be a factor this season, in my opinion. We will not be able to get through this season with the strength and depth we had last season. It just won't be able to do it. So hopefully this season, I don't think it will play too much of an issue, to be honest.
Yeah,
with
I think
you.
it only, unless the team goes really deep into the competition, Adrian, and unless one of our players is playing in every single game, every single minute, that's when I see it maybe taking a bit of a toll. But it is a good question nonetheless. Still a good question. Hotspur 82 saying, do you think Papa Montasar will be near the first team next season? Maddie, what do you think? Like, what's Papa Montasar's future?
No, he's not good enough to be near the first team yet. And look, we signed him off the back of a good season with Mets last summer. We loaned him back, and they had a terrible season, and he was barely involved. So, I mean, if last season wasn't the time to put him in the first team, this season definitely isn't. I expect him to be loaned out again, preferably to an English team, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But yeah, he's not going to be near that first team, especially with Bentancur, Højbjerg, Skip, and Bissouma at our disposal. Sorry, I doubt we'll get any first team minutes.
Maybe like a really proliferary sort of midfielder, like that gets in every now and again, but is that the best for his development? I'm not sure. Hotspur 82. It's a good question, though. It's a good question.
Big up Hotspur 82. And last but not least, this is a guy that I've seen a lot of people take keen interest in this year, and a lot of clubs maybe, or a lot of fans of clubs saying they really want this guy. Matt, do you think we can get Cucurella, aka the Cucumber, from Brighton?
No. To put it bluntly, Man City, I think, are interested as well. I can kind of see Zinchenko becoming a holding midfielder for them, maybe replacing Fernandinho, and Cucurella coming in at left back. I mean, I'd love him as well. I'm not going to pretend that I wouldn't, but he's going to cost a lot of money, and I think there's going to be interest from bigger and better clubs out there. So I don't think that's one that Tottenham will be able to get done.
Well, there you have it, Dark Song G. It doesn't look likely that Cucurella is coming to Tottenham anytime soon.
Love Cucurella.
But I like where your thoughts are at.
Yeah. I love Cucurella, so that is a shame, Dark Sun G. But yeah, I'm in Maddie's boat. I just never see it happening. But I would probably argue maybe Brighton's actually their best player from last season. I would say Cucurella. I just think he's sensational, and hopefully he does get picked up by a bigger team and gets the respect he deserves. But it seems like a lot of people that have kind of turned on to Cucurella, which is nice to see.
Big up, Dark Sun G, brother. Really do appreciate the support. But look, guys, before we end off, of course, we want to find out what's coming up on Matty's channel, what's coming up on Flat Cap Your Talk, and then me, I'll just see you back here later on for a Tri-Parrot Scout report. But Matty, what's coming up on your channel, my man?
Just transfer news and more transfer news and more transfer news. It's going to be a very, very busy couple of weeks, and we're going to be running through every report, every rumor, but also rather than just analyzing the transfers, we analyze the sources as well. And kind of prioritizing the more reliable journalists, the more reliable sources that it's coming from, to give you a bit of context behind the rumor, rather than just rattling them off. Like some of those Italian sources, we won't be paying too much attention to them, but look, we mentioned them anyway. I'm hoping to do a few analysis videos of some transfers. Obviously, don't want to take the shine away from Jack and those sort of videos, but yeah, if you enjoy transfer news, my channel is the place for you. We're hoping to get to 15k subscribers before the end of the month, so I'd appreciate any support on that as well. Just
a suggestion, Matty. Don't know if you want to do it or not, but I think maybe you should do a stream on, the whole how the whole transfer window works. What sort of people are reliable, what aren't, etc., etc. I think that'd be very, very interesting. But look, Jack, what's coming up on the Flat Cap Your Talk, my man?
Bissouma, it's going to be made today. The moment that I saw the news this morning while I was making the coffee, realized I was going to have a busy day today. So the Bissouma scout report's coming out. We're also going to have probably a discussion with Darius and Kieran, like we usually do at least once a week, live tomorrow on the channel. We're at least doing one live show a week. And then we're going to have, I think, plenty more kind of transfer sort of breakdowns. As much as I feel like I want to be, kind of on the know when it comes to transfers, I usually just leave it to Matty because that guy just does a whole lot more research than the rest of us. And so I listen to what he says. And then eventually, once I feel like maybe a transfer looks like it could be happening or one that maybe catches my eye, I maybe talk about what that player could potentially bring to Spurs. So if that sounds interesting to you, have a look.
Basically, what Jack is saying, for transfer news, go to Matty. For the breakdowns of the players, etc., go to Jack. So there
Matty
you have
does
it.
the breakdowns too, though. So definitely check them out both. Definitely two Bibles to have by the bedside table for sure.
No, 100%. Well, look, guys, I'll see you back here roughly around 7:30 tonight for Try Parrot Watch. Hopefully, he can bang in another couple. Hopefully, Obafemi Messi is on form as well. We'd like to see more from that guy. But look, guys, times are changing at Tottenham Hotspur. The Don is absolutely cooking up a 6-course meal. You guys better be hungry. More transfers on the way. What more do you want? No better time to be alive or be a Spurs fan. As always, come on, you Spurs. In Conte, we trust.
Come on, you Spurs.
Woo! We're back.
Come on, you.